And welcome in everyone to the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. It's the live post-game show. Following the live post-game show with Derek Gunn, Mark Farzetta, and Devin Caney, the Eagles normally impose a 48-hour rule. Here at JAKIB Media, we impose a 60-minute rule before we get into the second level of conversation. Dan Sileo from the National Football Show joining me to kick it off tonight. We're presented by Stateside Vodka. Go to statesidevodka.com, use the keyword JAKIB, and get 15% off of a 1-liter bottle. Dan Sileo joining us here tonight. We'll get 15 minutes of great conversation from Dan Sileo, and then, of course, we'll let you know about tomorrow's edition of the National Football Show. Dan Sileo, I want to begin tonight with Fletcher Cox and his words in the postgame. I don't get paid to play screens. I get paid to get sacks. That from a high-priced, savvy veteran, all-star, who finally is boiling over with frustration, I assume. What do you make of it?
Well, Joe, when I was with Jimmy Johnson in 1989 and he came into the Dallas Cowboys, he made sure he fired every single person that was in the locker room, the person that was dealing with jocks and socks, the person that was dealing with the players when it came to personnel and Tex Schramm, and also Gil Brandt, and every single one of those people he fired. What you have as a problem here is because people will be standing in a corner, and when things start to go south, as they have obviously after 7 games here, there's no question this season is completely over. The Philadelphia Eagles are already eliminated from any kind of conversation when it comes to postseason. Your season's over in 7 weeks. 1358. You know what that number represents? 1,358 days since the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And you've gone from being the pinnacle of the league to a laughingstock. And how has that happened in this process? Well, personnel's gotten in the way. The decisions that they've made by putting people on the field, this kind of conversation with Fletcher Cox, people, quite frankly, are all over. Players are talking this. There's no leadership inside the locker room, and you've got chaos. And what you have is John Madden used to say back in the day, the rats come to the top when the ship's taking on water, and you see who jumps off. That's what's happening here. It's completely imploded. There's no question. This game was a joke. This season has been a joke, but it was constructed this way. You know, we talked about this on the National Football Show on Friday. Joe, I'll throw this at you. Looks like the same offense to me from a year ago to today. But the only difference is that you fired a Hall of Fame, you fired a coach that won a Super Bowl, and you got rid of a quarterback who you lost confidence in. Okay, for what? Training wheels, head coach, a quarterback who was signed to be a safety belt for Carson Wentz. Nothing more. He was never signed in any way whatsoever to be a premium guy. And we're sitting here on a Sunday talking about the same crap that we do every single Sunday. We could take some of the JAKIB Media postgame shows. We could line them up, Joe, and they would be the same stuff. Nick Sirianni sucks as a play caller. The talent around him's not playing. Now you got guys chirping in the corner. It's the same postgame. Nothing's changed, and nothing will change because the general manager handles and controls the entire football team. He controls the personnel on Sunday. He's part of the hiring process of the assistant coaches. He's involved in the game plan. I mean, dude, you're a GM. Act like it. The Eagles are in chaos 1,358 days from when they won the Super Bowl. This organization doesn't resemble itself.
NFL insider John McMullen on the live post-game show earlier tonight. Dan Sileo said this team is dying death by 1,000 cuts following what he witnessed. Of course, John McMullen was in Vegas for the game, and now the criticism, even on the network broadcast, was intense, specifically for the defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon. Defense is your wheelhouse. You played the position at a high level. You were drafted into this league to play on the defensive side of the football. I know you know football, but I know you know defense better than football. That's your position. What is going on? Why is the defense so vanilla? Why is Fletcher Cox coming out and making a statement? I don't get paid to play screens. What is happening on the defensive side of the football, Dan?
There's no question that the personnel is not lined up with what the coaching is asking them to do. And Fletcher feels uncomfortable in Jonathan Gannon's system. It happens all the time. Joe, you see this. I mean, let's just take a look at the Dallas Cowboys, for instance. A year ago, Mike Nolan had the Cowboys working in a 34 front and had them working in a particular way, two gapping up front. They were just getting run over. What does Dan Quinn do? Dan Quinn comes in, puts up more of a sense of urgency type defense on display. The Cowboys have gotten better, especially when your quarterback is able to handle time of possession because they're running the ball better. There's no question the offense has helped the defense out in Dallas. You know, people are looking at that going, why are the Cowboys better? Dak's back. He's able to control the clock, and the defense is getting a lot of 3-and-outs. Right now, you're getting a lot of pushback from what Jonathan Gannon is asking this group of men to do with his particular style of defense. There's no question he's a believer in non-penetration. He's a believer in linebacker coverage and also in secondary coverage. Well, when you do that, you have to have the personnel to do that. Derek Carr ate them up, man. I mean, they were more effective on all of their plays. Nothing was really out of hand. Like, it was like 378 to 442, 323 in passing yards, 223. Obviously, that's a number that has to be better. Jalen was terrible today. They ran the ball a little bit better. Okay. But the Raiders went, like I said, for 323 and 119. That's balance. You want to try to get around 125 when it comes to your running game, and you want to be over 310 or 319 in your passing game. They were more effective on third down, and they didn't have a lot of 3-and-outs when it came to being a ballet routine. I mean, the Eagles have I don't believe it's really even a college offense. It's a 3-play offense with different disguises, and these RPOs and these screenplays, they were so predictable. 18 of 34, 236 yards and 2 touchdowns. Looks good on a stat sheet. But when you're thrown from behind like that, it's terrible. I mean, 31 of 34, Derek Carr was. Look how efficient that is. And they ran the ball, and they stopped the Eagles on third down. I mean, look, I look at Jonathan Gannon, and I see Nick Sirianni. I don't know. I think maybe Temple has more of an experienced coaching staff than what this is. These guys are clearly in training wheels right now, and they're learning how to defend as coordinators. And then you have to look at Sirianni. He's got to stop as play caller, turn this thing over to somebody so that he can manage the team. Every single time that a coach gets hired who's a play caller, bro, you better have a guy on that other side of the football like Sean McVay did when he hired somebody like a Wade Phillips. Frank Reich did the same thing when he was at Indianapolis. You want to be the play caller? Okay, well, make sure that you have a veteran guy on the other side of the football. You have 2 guys that are younger than some of the players that are on the Eagle team. Joe, I look at it, and I'm like, it's so predictable on both sides of the football, lack of pressure. It became predictable. Roll them right, roll them left, RPO, middle screens, and really not trying to go deep. And when you went deep, it was a rouge. You ran the ball in the first series. Great. You got to run the ball in the 15th series or the 10th series to keep everybody at bay. It became so predictable. I'm sitting here watching the game going, hey, man, if I'm a coordinator, this is like coordinating a high school football team. It was so predictable.
I think it was Jonathan Vilma who was actually doing the game for Fox, and I know you know him, Hurricane,
Very well.
10-year career in the National Football League, begging, pleading, asking, pointing out for the defense to not be so vanilla, for the defense to put some pressure. At one point, identified the Raiders running the football right into the heart of the front four and barely being touched. I mean, that's what was happening in real time, Dan.
All right, Joe, I'll say it here. No one in Philly will. Defense has stopped playing for that coordinator. They've stopped playing for him. Here, I'll give you, for instance, when you're a non-believer. See, Joe, here, playing football and playing a defense or playing with a coach that you trust is blind faith. It's like believing in God. You have to believe that there's an ever after, and you have to believe that you have this great desire to see the afterlife. As a football player, you have to have that same blind faith to believe that this coach is going to put you in a position to have success. If you don't have that blind faith, you're never going to win. And the Eagles are in a position where they don't believe. They're non-believers. They're looking at the scheme. That's not what they do. They're a penetrating type front four. They don't have the linebackers. The players know that. They're limited in the secondary, and yet the staff is trying to execute a game plan that will not work. They're doing it on offense, too. These guys have a system set up, Joe, where they believe that it's like jamming a square peg in a round hole. They believe that they have what's right to win games. Now they're coming out even during the week going, we really don't have the quarterback that really can run the offense that we're looking for because he's limited. Then you had the defense coordinator saying a couple weeks ago, we can't play nickel. These guys have all these off-ramp excuses on why they're not winning. Now, look, do I believe the personnel's on the Eagles to win? No, I don't. I think their linebackers and their secondary need to be completely revamped. And I would say this, on the defensive side of the ball, the Eagles need to replace probably 9 out of 11 guys. I mean, you just do. These guys are going nowhere. The scheme's not helped. And if you're going to keep this coaching staff, you need to replace them. There's nobody on that team right now playing NFL defense. And you can see it, especially as the game goes on. You could say whatever you want about what I'm saying. Here is my eyeball test without evaluating and without the analyst, in me here. Jalen Hurts is not good enough. Your running game sucks. Your play caller sucks. Your offensive line, okay, it's good. But how do we know? Because the quarterback and the running game sucks. Your front four is fairly good with Hargrave. Your linebackers are D's. Your secondary, C-. Your special teams, D. Howie Roseman's got 3 picks in the first 10 picks. Jesus criminy. If I were the owner of the Eagles, I would evaluate on who's rolling the dice for me. Because at least in Vegas, you have a 50-50 shot of potentially winning on rolling the dice. With Howie in the last 3 years, Joe, they haven't drafted a Pro Bowler. And they fell into Jordan Mailata. I don't know. Where are you going? I don't see it.
It's the post-game show here across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel with Dan Sileo. One last thought from Dan Sileo, and then we'll let you bounce out of here. Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports will be with us on the other side of the commercial break. Two thoughts from the live post-game show, Dan, and I'll get you to react to them. Derek Gunn said this team is getting worse. He could live with the 2-7 or a 2-5 team if the team was making progress. They're getting worse. Mark Farzetta called this team a dumpster fire. And I put that in the context of this team is 2-5 with the winless Detroit Lions chomping at the bit for this team to get there.
The Eagles are not beating the Lions. If anybody's under the notion that Dan Campbell doesn't have his guys believing. By the way, Dan Campbell, first-year head coach with no wins, has his team on a weekly basis believing that they're close, and they are close. To me, it reminds me a lot of what Tony Dungy did when he went 0-8 in Tampa. These guys are buying into Dan Campbell. You're not beating that Lions team. They are fighting tooth and nail every single day. They're not giving BS comments about I'm paid to sack people. You're hearing people like Chris Spielman, who's the president of the team, saying we're close. They are close. A couple of years ago, Brian Flores ended up beating Seattle and the Eagles a few years ago. Team was rolling in the right direction. Kind of falling back a bit over this whole Tua and Deshaun Watson stuff. Dude, the whole football thing with the Eagles has fallen completely apart. There is no question about it. Okay? When you watch this team as they are going through the motions, not beating Detroit, this football team will be lucky at the end of the year when teams are resting players that they'll be able to win games. By the way, Carson Wentz is on pace, and they were winning against the 49ers tonight. Wentz is on pace for 4,400 yards, 103 quarterback rating. They're fighting to be a playoff team. I don't know with what the Titans are doing in that division, if they're going to catch him, but he's getting better every week. Driving rain tonight. You fired Doug Peterson, the head coach who won a Super Bowl, for this? I mean, where now, if they would have come clean and said, look, we're going to blow this thing up so we can get the top pick in the draft. Okay. I mean, that's not going to fly in a city like Philly, but at least there's a plan. It just looks like, I don't know, Joe, it just looks like they thought maybe Hurts would be better. They thought the team and the roster would be better. But again, this is when a general manager sits in the owner's box and picks up the sheet with the players on it, hands Jeffrey Lurie the sheet and goes, the guys I'm picking are the right guys. The guy that's coaching him is the wrong guy. Well, eventually, the owner's got to do this. I got to tell you, man, that's not really the case. We're not good. Matt LaFleur couldn't come in here and coach the team. Matt LaFleur is 32-7 with Aaron Rodgers. When you have a decent quarterback, you're going to win a game. When you have a coach that's learning and a coordinator on defense that's learning, dude, I don't know where you're going with this. Joe, I just don't see it, man. I'm telling you, this 2021 season has been one of the worst seasons, I would say, since the Rich Kotite era.
Wow. Post-game show here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Right back here tomorrow. Dan Sileo with the National Football Show, 4 p.m. right here. It's must-watch television every Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Dan Sileo with the National Football Show. Great stuff, Dan Sileo. Thank you, bro.
You bet, Joe. Thank you so much, brother.
All right. Good night to you, sir. We'll take a commercial break. On the other side of the commercial break, Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports. We'll break it all down. Back in a moment.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the memories. Go for the view that goes on forever. Go for the bubbles in your bathtub. and in your drink. Go to bed whenever you want. Or don't. Go for him. Go for her. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
The live post-game show is powered by IBEW Local 98.
In Philadelphia, we celebrated the miracle with pride only 5 years ago. And then the following morning, IBEW Local 98 members went back to work, building this city, rescuing our communities from decay, and inspiring the young men and women of the region to take pride in who we are. Like the Cats, Local 98 members believe in hope. John Doherty, business manager of Local 98, says it this way: the best way not to forget where you come from is to never leave.
And back here live on the post-game show. All presented by Stateside Vodka. Go to statesidevodka.com. Use the keyword JAKIB. You'll get 15% off a 1-liter bottle. And around the Philadelphia region, a lot of people may be ringing up Stateside Vodka over the next week because the hungry, winless Detroit Lions are waiting, but we'll leave that out there for conversation during the week. Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports joining us, a regular on Birds 365. So thankful and grateful to have Jeff Kerr here on a Sunday night, taking time away from that Sunday night game. Jeff, opening drive today for the Philadelphia Eagles looked pretty good. 8 plays, 67 yards, kind of looked like traditional football to me. Jalen under center, Miles running the football. 24-yard shot to Dallas Goedert mixed in, and all looked okay the way this thing started.
Yeah, then Miles Sanders got hurt and everything went back to normal, Joe.
Yes, it did.
It's a shame. I just got done watching 9 overtimes of bad football on Saturday, and I had to come back and watch the Eagles Sunday. I don't know what was worse, Joe. I really don't. It just seemed like once Miles Sanders exited the game with the ankle injury, Nick Sirianni didn't know what to do. He didn't know where to play Kenny Gainwell. He didn't know where to play Boston Scott. I don't want to say he abandoned the run, but it looked like everything just went back to shotgun, back to bubble screens. I don't know, Joe. He just doesn't do enough to help this quarterback out. And I tweeted this earlier tonight. I still don't know what Jalen Hurts is. I think I know what Nick Sirianni is, and that's the scary part.
Jeff, let me ask you, was Jordan Howard dressed and available to play today, or was he inactive for the game? Because you would think if Miles would go down. Now, maybe he wasn't available. Okay, let me go to Jordan Howard. Gainwell's not going to replace Miles Sanders. So, and Boston Scott, I think, did an admirable job when he finally got a couple of carries. But no Jordan Howard, and with Miles out, boy, it changed fast.
Yeah, and that's why I thought the Eagles kept Jordan Howard around. Now, I know he's on the practice squad, but still, that's a guy you can elevate on there. You can put on the active roster on the 53. And, okay, if he's a game day inactive, so be it. You don't expect Miles Sanders to get hurt, but you're right. It's like Kenny Gainwell is a nice back, and I think he's going to be a nice back for this football team. I'm not sure if he can be a number one back, and I don't think he's ready for that workload yet. But you can tell he's a guy who can spell Miles Sanders pretty well. And I thought Boston Scott should have began more of the carries anyway, because he's kind of done the whole 10 to 15 carry a game thing. And I thought their offense could have moved the same way. But for some reason, this head coach does not like Boston Scott. I think Scott, coming into the day, it might have been it's either 4 carries or 4 offensive snaps. I don't remember which one it is, but he just doesn't play Boston Scott. And he didn't today. He went with Kenny Gainwell. Gainwell had the fumble. I don't know, Joe, for the first time in a long time, this was an Eagles game where I kind of had the game written up. I had my grades written up early in the fourth quarter, and it was a game where if you were a fan, I would turn on the Sixers at 7 o'clock. It was not pretty at all. And thank God that game ended when it did. But, I just kept thinking to myself, this is ugly. This is not good football right now. And I don't know if this coach is going to last a year, to be honest with you.
Jeff, the criticism of the head coach, the criticism of the defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, is going to be fierce this upcoming week. It was actually fierce softly in the network broadcast, where the defense was being referred to as vanilla, begging for pressure to do something, and yet nothing. It's always the same. There's never an adjustment or a change. And now Fletcher Cox comes out on record and says, I don't get paid to play screens. I get paid to get sacks.
He's right. I mean, that's why the Eagles pay him over $20 million a year, because he gets after the quarterback. He gets the quarterback hits. He gets the sacks. He gets the pressures. That's why the Rams pay Aaron Donald. That's why the Chiefs pay Chris Jones. I know Chris Jones isn't doing much of that this year, but that's what they pay him for, and that's what the Eagles pay Fletcher Cox for. They don't pay Fletcher Cox to go out in coverage. They don't pay Fletcher Cox to tackle anybody, running back in the backfield. They pay him to go after the quarterback. He's absolutely right. And if we follow what Jeff McClain has been saying throughout the past 8 months, Fletcher Cox has a lot of power in this organization, and a lot of decisions the Eagles make are influenced by Fletcher Cox. And he was a big proponent of getting Javon Hargrave in there. He was a big proponent of, from what I heard, playing Josh Sweat a little more of Derek Barnett, even though he likes Derek Barnett. It's, just from the stuff you read, and you're like, okay, is this Fletcher Cox trying to tell Nick Sirianni, hey, look, what your boy is doing isn't working right now. We got to change something up here. And, I was a big defender of Jim Schwartz last year, and I know Jim Schwartz wasn't going to come back. Obviously new head coach, you pick your own guy. It makes plenty of sense. But I think Eagles Twitter is getting a little bit of their just dessert right now, because Jim Schwartz wasn't that bad of a defensive coordinator. They were ninth in the NFL in points allowed over the 5-year span. They were 13th in the NFL in yards allowed. I think they were like 12th in takeaways or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, I like Jonathan Gannon. I agree with John McMullen. I do like Jonathan Gannon and the stuff he definitely has an innovative mind, but he doesn't have the personnel right now. And what bothers me is he just doesn't adjust it. He's just like, whatever.
Jeff, I know that conversation about the personnel has been kind of, and I don't want to say it's been the excuse for the way Jonathan Gannon approaches a football game. And I don't profess to be the expert, but the expert John McMullen today referred to it as death by 1,000 cuts. Now, if you don't have the personnel and you're willing to let your opposing team go up and down the field and control the football and run 12 plays, 14 plays, 16 plays, and Derek Carr to go 31 for 34 because you don't have the personnel, well, guess what? Then I'm going to roll the dice and try and do something with the personnel I have instead of continue to sit there and watch it.
Exactly. And John's right. It is dying 1,000 cuts. You know, I'm watching a Muhammad Ali documentary right now before I came on here. And I was watching his fight against Larry Holmes, and Larry Holmes is just beating the crap out of him slowly and surely. And, you know, we all know what happened to Muhammad Ali after he retired, even before he retired. But it kind of felt like that. You know, the Eagles are just getting punched and punched and punched, and they won't go down. Instead of just giving up the 50-yard play and being done with it and going for the quick knockout. And John Fagan is trying to save face, but when you're letting Derek Carr complete 91.6% of his passes against you, the second highest completion percentage in the game in NFL history, you have to start thinking to yourself, okay, we got to change something here. We got to get pressure on this quarterback. And they just don't do it. They don't rush anybody but the front four. And I don't understand it. Like, what are you afraid of? Okay, Alex Singleton can't tackle. We know that. TJ Edwards can't tackle. Davion Taylor was getting picked on all day. Send somebody. Send Rodney McLeod. Send Anthony Harris. Send the cornerback. I don't care at this point anymore. You're already giving up 30 points. You're already giving up 400 yards. Just do it and be done with it. It's go blitz. Put this guy on his back. They didn't do that the entire day. They didn't do that with Patrick Mahomes. They didn't do that with Tom Brady. They didn't do that with Derek Carr. They're not going to do it with anybody. I'll tell you what. They're not going to do it with Jared Goff next week either. That's what's the scary part. Detroit is on an 11-game losing streak, the longest in the NFL. I think they have a chance to beat this team next week. And you know what? They probably think they have a chance to beat this team next week after they watch the film.
Before I get one last thought for you, Jeff Kerr, here on the post-game show, will you repeat that stat in reference to Derek Carr, just to make sure that I can actually process that when this show is over?
So quarterbacks have thrown 30 or more passes in NFL history. Derek Carr has the second highest completion percentage ever at 91.6%. Only Drew Brees was higher. Drew Brees went 29 of 30 in 2019. Carr went 31 of 34 today. He's the second highest. I think Carr is the third highest, too. Like, this is the best game Derek Carr's ever played in the National Football League. I thought he was crisp. I thought he was great. And Derek Carr's really having a good year. But it's kind of going unnoticed after the first 3 weeks because of the whole John Gruden mess and, the interim head coach. And he played well last week against Denver, but today was the best game Derek Carr's ever had. And the Eagles made it look really easy. He was just finding guys left and right. Receivers were wide open. He threw one tight throw to Foster Moreau, which was an amazing catch. And there was really good coverage on it by Marcus F. But that just showed you how well Derek Carr played today. He had 16 straight completions in the first half. His lone blemish in the first half was a tip pass that went to Avonte Maddox. He was lights out, and the Eagles defense had no answers for him.
John McMullen, before we move on from that, John McMullen actually said on the live postgame show that the incompletion to Renfro may have actually been intentionally dropped by Renfro at that point, realizing the clock and that they needed to get in to get the field goal before the half concluded. Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports joining us here on the post-game show across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, as he always does. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. One last thought, Jeff, before I let you go, and then I believe you'll be right back here tomorrow on Birds 365. I want to get you to comment on Mark Farzetta and Derek Gunn. I just want to make sure that I get the quote correctly. So Derek Gunn on the live post-game show pointed out that the team is getting worse with each game. Mark Farzetta referred to this as a dumpster fire. How bad is this football team right now?
Well, Joe, this is how I point out. This team is the first time the Eagles have started 2-5 since 1999. This is Andy Reid's first year. I think the 99 Eagles would outplay this team and outcoach this team by at least 20 points because that team was on the ascension. You could see that team getting better throughout the year. This team, I agree with those two, is getting worse and worse and worse. I don't think they're anywhere near where they were 2 weeks ago at this time. Even the Dallas game, I'm like, okay, Dallas is a better team, fine. But this was an Vegas. This was a Raiders team you should be able to at least compete against, and you were non-competitive. It was embarrassing. You were up 7-0 after the first quarter. I don't know how, because they were just getting destroyed in the trenches. Like, you saw the frustration on Jason Kelsey's face before he got called for the penalty. Not exactly on that play that he shouldn't have gotten a penalty, but I think it was on first down. They ran like a bubble screen. It was incomplete. And you could just see Jason Kelsey shaking his head. These players are checking out on this guy. It's embarrassing right now. There's too many veterans on this team. They don't need to hear this, this pandering, this all what Nick Sirianni does right now. It's not good. I'm worried they're going to tune this guy out. And if they lose to Detroit, you're going to look at 2-6, and they just might, because I don't want to hear about an easy second half schedule, because the Phillies had an easy second half schedule too, and they still couldn't beat the Braves. They still didn't make the playoffs. So I just don't think this team's any good right now. I don't know when they're going to win a game, to be honest with you.
Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports here tonight on the post-game show on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. I want to make sure that I shout out to all of our viewers and subscribers who tuned in to the live post-game show, who joined us tonight on the post-game show. A lot to talk about beginning tomorrow with Birds 365, Jeff Kerr and Jody Mack tomorrow, 8 to 10. The Middle with Eitan Shander, Harry Mays, and Barrett Brooks from 11 to 1. And then the National Football Show with Dan Sileo from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Jeff Kerr, it's going to be a very busy week, sir.
Yes, it is. And I'll be venting tomorrow, and I'll probably be venting Wednesday. I have plenty of reasons to vent this weekend. So, after everything that's happened this weekend, and Eagles were just icing on the cake for me. And I did not think this team would play this bad against Vegas today, but they did. And now we got to wonder, when's their next win going to be, if they have another one. But you know what, Joe? At least the Dolphins lost, and at least right now they have the number 2 pick in the NFL draft, and it's not even their pick.
And by the way, the quarterback prospects in the draft next year,
not good.
Don't look so good. That's going to do it tonight for the post-game show here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Special thanks to Dan Sileo and, of course, Jeff Kerr. Remember, we're all presented by Stateside Vodka. Go to statesidevodka.com. Use the keyword JAKIB. Get 15% off a 1-liter bottle. Until tomorrow, when the week begins. See you next time, everybody.